meditation for abundant supply. Say it in a rhythmically chant. And this is the meditation. I am free from fear and doubt, casting want and misery out, knowing now good supply ever comes from realms on high. I am the hand of God's own fortune, flooding forth the treasures of life, now receiving full abundance to supply each need of life. See how it's a steady rhythm chanting. You can sing it a little bit too if you want. But the steady chanting is important because you are going to be programming into your subconscious mind things from this point on. So tonight's class is going to be on soulmates. You should, before we go away from this meditation, you should always repeat this at least 3 times. One is just familiarizing yourself with the words, which will give it a subtle impression in the subconscious mind. The second one takes it to your, say, will give you impression here because you're using physical force by saying it. It takes the subconscious mind. The second one takes you to your sub of the subconscious mind. The third one takes it to knowing. So each time you perform an act, and the more you perform it, the deeper it goes into consciousness. See? If you do it over and over again, pretty soon you get the idea of what you're doing. See? By repetition and vibration. But it has to be in a rhythm. So by creating rhythm right to start off with, you put that thin line of light through, all the way up to the throat chakra. This is the first master chakra, you know, the throat. And then by being able to visualize the things coming to you, you add the next chakra. And then you have unconditioned faith in it and being at one with it, then you are pulling the crown chakra for divine knowledge. If you know God, you're the son or daughter of God, and He's going to give you the supply. See, it's just a divine knowledge. Soulmates, as we're going to be talking about tonight, soul mates, twin rays. In the beginning of creation, as we've seen on the first aspect of God, it's an all-encompassing vibration. It's symbolized by this circle. In the beginning, all things were one. That one vibration was through all dimensions. It was only one inert state of beingness, non-beingness. It's a mystery, it's illusion, it's not illusion. It's everything and it's nothing. It's the one, the nameless one, the one without a second, in whom we move and live and have our being. It is ever existing. The illusion of time man is working in. But really there's no time or space. So in this oneness, we start with one. This one, then to create, it needed something to reflect upon. Well, there's nothing outside of it, so it had to divide itself. It had to separate the darkness from the light. And we're still in that process. And it's an internal process. That is symbolized by the second stage. It realized itself here, which is the dot in the center of the circle. Then it split this darkness into light. For the positive and negative polarity, for the mother, father. And you notice I'm putting mother first up here, because when it comes down here, it reverses in polarity. When it comes down to the physical dimension, the father is first and the mother is second. But when it's in the original polarity, the mother is first and the father is second. Left and right-hand side. Excuse me. So this brings us to the number 2. See, now we have 1 and 2. Coming out of this Mother, Father, God, and this creation, comes the third aspect, or what we have is 3, the number 3. Or the Father, Mother, which are one at this point, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. three forces. Now this is one force divided into two forces. These two forces divided into three forces. And everything in the universe is conducted off of these three forces. This universe is made up of trinities, the working together of the mother and father. Well, ever since this second aspect came forth in creation, every other aspect has this duality to it. And we see it in the way on our earth plane as men and women. This was all one light, one great light, and it was permeating all things. It was like little specks of light flowing in a darkness. And so these great specks of light all became magnetized to one another. This comes the separation from darkness and light. They got magnetized, and some of these specks got magnetized together, so they started forming great monadic light, or monadic structures of light, or great fields of light and energy. These first come in a chaotic vibration, like some of the nebulas that we have. The one on the left-hand side of us, from our nebula, that our solar system and our galaxy and our universe is in, it's a great nebula of light. There's another one that is in a chaotic structure, and on the other side there's one in perfect harmony. It's called Andromeda. I don't remember the name of the one that's in chaotic. I don't like to identify with that anyway. The one that's on the other side is in perfect harmony. And there are 7 of these great units around a great center sun, which is this emanation here. And so it's emanating out. There's 7 vibrations around this. That's 7. Yeah, that's 7. There's 7. And 2 manifesting. There are 2 manifesting, bringing this to 9 universes around this one great center sun. This universe that we are in is in a duality. It hasn't come to the oneness like Andromeda has, which is a complete positive vibration, which is a light universe. This universe still has darkness and light, still day and night, male, female, positive and negative polarities. It still has duality to it. It still has the duality to it. As these great monadic lights and structures, one of these, breaking off of this great center sun, was called humanity. Humans, the humanity. And it was only one light at this point. And it was whirling in a chaotic structure. It began to form its head, its consciousness, its mind force, and each one of the forces, as it came down and became denser and denser and denser and denser, until at one point it began to work upon this planet. It worked upon this planet, working with other forces in the universe, the elemental forces of the mineral kingdom. And so this spiritual beingness of humanity, or the human, or the light man, the light man, the light beings that we are, worked with these forces. And then they worked to correlate them in such a way that later, when they took their bodies upon this planet, that they would have these substance to work from. The same in the animal kingdom, or the vegetable kingdom, and then the animal kingdom, until man finally took possession of an animal body. Well, he had already correlated, or the human had already correlated a lot of energies in that, and experimented a lot to see how each of these beings would be in this particular plane of awareness. At this point, humanity found that they must split their essence in order to take and work individually in all these individual manifestations that they had created upon the planet. They were the creating force of God sent forth from the great center sun to draw the light out of the darkness. That many times, when they get in their individual conscious manifestation, we lose some of those sparks of light into the darkness, because they, instead of going back towards the Father, they go to destruction, see? And they go around destroying all of things. So there's these 2 forces pulling, one towards the center, sun, and one out into the unmanifested, that which is unconditioned, that which no longer has any vibratory rate, but that which is a power that brings to those in creation an increase of energy. Whatever the unmanifested touches, whatever's in creation becomes more of that. This is what's happening to our world time. We're moving this great monadic light called our nebula of the Milky Way into a space that has more of this unconditioned substance than ever before. So it'll be stepped up 5 times as fast as we are now. So if you're happy, you'll be 5 times as happy. If you're sad, you'll be 5 times as sad. See? Because it's unmanifested, and as soon as it touches and the increase of energy comes, then you become more of that which you touch. Does everyone understand that? I want to get that perfectly clear. You have an unmanifested energy. When you touch it, it becomes manifested to whatever touches it. This is why man has not been allowed to use a lot of this energy, because when he first came, he had free use of it. And he was creating so fast, he didn't care about anything else. He was just kept working, because there was one force that said, well, if we don't need it, let's throw it away, tear it apart. And that was the third of these forces, and what we call Satan, or the devil. And he wants to take everything apart. And he says, well, if I'm God, why do I go to worship God, That's what he's saying. He doesn't realize he's only a part of God. And like we all are part of God. So he is a great part of God, just like Christ is a great part of God. And the destroyers of the field, which is the unmanifest energy, it keeps taking things apart, while the creator of the field keeps putting things together. And it's perpetual. One takes it apart, the other one puts it together. So if we had all the creation still here that we created on the planet, there'd still be dinosaurs walking around, there'd still be Neanderthal men, and all the old bodies that weren't functioning as good as this body. And this is a fantastic body. See? But the bodies of the future will even be greater than these bodies by the evolution of them. See? Just look, you don't need your tonsils anymore. You don't need your appendix anymore. But you needed those at one point on account of the food substance that you were using. And when you used to eat it, the tonsils would excrete a fluid, a foam, over the food that started digesting. And the appendix was an intestine that went and surpassed some of the other intestines to carry off poison. Well, we purified what we ate, so we didn't have to have this appendix anymore, so it's shriveling up. And in the future, it won't even be in the body, just as the tonsils will no longer be needed. Pretty soon, when we use so much telepathy, hundreds of thousands of years from now, the body won't even need a mouth. It won't need a nose, because we won't be using air the way we use air now. Won't need eyes, because we'll be seeing clairvoyantly. Boy, look at all the things that we're going to get rid of, see? So, over the period of time, this is exactly what we did, see? We needed a voice to communicate. Before we didn't have them. Now we got one, see? We learn how to use it. So, we get rid of the old stuff and we refine it. It becomes better and better every day, and every way you're getting better and better, see? Well, every age, in every way, we're getting better and better. But these life sparks that came down here to experience came in these great monadic structures of life. Here they were, all one at one point. Humanity, the human. When they started taking possession of the animal bodies upon this plane to experience from, there was a lot of instinctive vibration, so those animal bodies wouldn't be destroyed. A lot of instinctive vibration. It's like this. Here, a drop of water would come out. Down here it would come into manifestation. It experienced something. Say it was walking along, and a great being gob come out of the woods and went, oh, and ate it up, right? So here with this little spirit, it would go back in here and said, watch out, there's big green globs down there. And then everybody knew it. Everybody knew it. Every impulse, every individual impulse in this knew that there was great green globs to watch out for. See? So then down comes another spirit. I mean, there's a lot of them, just thousands of them. I'm going to throw one at a time. I don't have time for the thousands. Keep coming. Down came, and so now it instinctively knows, see, instinctive mind. See the animal here? See how he has just a little touch of the mental body? Just a little touch? That's instinctive mind. And that's all the bigger instinctive mind is. Look how much mind man uses. Look how much mind spirit uses. This is a spirit body with less force here and greater forces in the higher life. And there are even greater spiritual bodies than this. So that little touch of instinctive mind started to form. And so down came this one and he says, okay, I'm going to watch out for these green globs. And here comes a big gray glob. He says, well, it's not green. Boom, ate him up. Up he goes and he says, hey, watch out. There's big gray globs down there that's going to get you. And so they said, okay, watch out for all the gray and the green globs. Instinctive mind, see? So everybody knew, all humanity knew, see, in this consciousness, and kept implanting it in the animal bodies as they were formed, see? The electronic force, the electromagnetic energies in your body repel certain things, thought forms, so on and so forth. And so this instinctive mind grew. Pretty soon a rock rolled down the hill and smashed one of these. Hey, look out for rocks! They even put signs around on the highway now saying, look out for rocks, right? See, they took it outside. They don't need it instinctively anymore. Just, anyway, bad. Well, this is the way instinctive mind got built. And man used to run in tribes, just like the animals run in herds. They were all together, and whatever that tribe experienced, it all went up into that essence. And pretty soon these tribes or these fields of energy gave different vibrations in this great structure. They started magnetizing together because alike attracts alike. And so within this realm of humanity, many forms, some great, some small, form. Until one day, a very beautiful being come out of this great monadic light of humanity, descended upon the earth, and he said, you know, wouldn't it be great, God, if you would give us individual awareness where we could take an humanity on a whole would know, but we could carry this individually, our own individual experiences from lifetime to lifetime. Who that was Malyachek, and he says, I am. And at that point, the soul was individualized. The soul was individualized. This soul that individualized had the male and female polarity within it. Sometimes the male polarity would be sent down. Sometimes the female polarity would be sent down. Sometimes both polarities would be sent down in separate bodies or in one body. The soul would incarnate in different ways. So sometimes it can come down. You can be a total soul within your body. You can be a totality, male and female polarity. And you might be looking for your soulmate, and you're already a total soul, so you don't have a soulmate. You have to align with someone else that is a total soul, and then on the same vibration spiritually as that being as well. So as you come down into this essence, what a soulmate is at one point that essence was one, and now it is two, male and female polarity. In all of nature, there is always those malforms that we call malforms. Sometimes we see on a flower, on a stem that should have one flower, we see two flowers on it, or three, or maybe 5 or 6, right? How about the woman that's supposed to have one child? Well, sometimes she has 2 children. Sometimes she has 3 children. Sometimes she has 5 children or 6, right? When that happens, 3, right? We call that 3. But that's just natural. That's just natural. So some of these entities, instead of having just 2 forces within them, they might have 4 forces in them. And so this could have 2 male and 2 female polarities, and they could be coming from that one soul group down into incarnation. They could have either not ever separated, or they could have merged to that point by attunement. And that's what a lot of beings are doing nowadays, is merging soul essence to become unified souls the soul unify of humanity, because humanity still, as a whole, has one soul. Humanity as a whole has one spirit. But within it, it has many structures that break down to this male and female polarity. So you may have two soulmates, incarnated and one not incarnated. Or you may not have any incarnated and 3 or 4 that are helping you from a higher realm. See? So it doesn't necessarily mean that there's only one other being in the whole of the universe that is your other half. There can be more than one. Just like there can be more than one flower on one stem. There are all malfunction, which isn't malfunction. It's just natural. But man down here wanting to regimentate everything says, no, there should only be one and one. You know, I'm not going to live on my mountain. Anyway, so you can have more than one soulmate. You can have 2 or 3 or 4 soulmates incarnated in a malfunction. Or you can be a total soul and not have a soulmate. In this case, and if none is incarnated, and you want to have an experience that is compatible upon this plane, then your next energy is a twin ray. This means the energies within that being that you are with are compatible with you. Out of 5 out of their 9 energy flows, as we teach in this consciousness, in the 9. If you're in the 7, then it's 4 out of the 7. What it is the monopoly. Now, you may be compatible physically, emotionally, mentally, soulfully, for your dreams and desires. In here is a vibrational body. You could be compatible there. You could be compatible in your higher state of being, in your spiritual state of being. You could be compatible in your religious body, which is not the spiritual body, but a religious body, in your body of beliefs. See, when we're talking about bodies here, you have been accumulating light at various vibrations, and it can be used for certain things. The strata here is used for the physical, and here you have accumulated, and you keep accumulating every day. If you don't, then you get hungry, right? But you're accumulating this substance every day. You consume it, extract what your vibrations need, and excrete the rest. And that's the way you do in the emotional body, and so on and so forth. See, there's excretion all the way up the line. You're getting rid of that which you no longer need. When you become a spiritual being, what you're doing is you're just taking lightness and getting rid of darkness. You're excreting all the darkness, and you're becoming brighter and brighter until you're pure fire crystal light. Pure fire crystal light. Until you get to that point. Well, you must have these bodies. And this body here is a 3-way body because it has the widest plane of experience. The astral, the emotional, and the vibrational are all in the astral plane, or the 4th dimension of consciousness. But as we see here, it looks all equal, that actually the field of energy is larger than the physical dimension or the mental dimension. It's the largest and most applicable plane because we've worked more on that plane than we worked on the others, as you can see there. We have worked more on that plane. The physical, the dark dense down there, is what is in manifestation. That is above there, it's yellow, is etheric, or what hasn't manifested yet, but is part of the physical dimension. Then you have the astral energies that go from the physically orientated astral energies up to the mind-formulated astral energy, and all the way in between. So here you have these various bodies in there, the mental body, your spiritual body, your religious, or your soul body, your religious body, and your spiritual body. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What's the next? Light. Your body of light and energy. So you have to have compatible 4 or 5 of those rays. Now you can be with somebody and you can be compatible with them emotionally. You can feel them when they are away. That's vibrationally. You have the same dreams. That's astrally. You have the same thoughts together, which is your mental body, the same ideas and thoughts. The soul body, the same type of knowledge, see, the same experience through your lifetimes. Your physical body, you enjoy each other's physical body. The body of religion, you have the same type of religious beliefs. The spiritual body, you attune to the same type of deities. And in the light body, you attune to the same light. Those are the 9 bodies of beings we're talking about. The spiritual body, before you get to the body of light, is that Christ consciousness, that ideal creation, where you're both working for the same ideal creation, which won't be discussed in these teachings tonight because they're advanced teachings, and the advanced teachings are being released at this time. But if you read books on soulmates and that, you will find 7 bodies described, not 9. We thank God for the privilege of bringing forth the 9. And that's what astrophysics has over 99% of the other courses on the planet, which teach you 7 levels of consciousness. We're teaching you 9, and 1 has 2 applications. So, soulmates can be of one entity that is split, or it can be a kmow, like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 together. When you have in these tribes, so to speak, when they have vibrated at the same rate, then you have what you call cosmic families. And you can have a cosmic brother and sister that's not a soulmate, that vibrate like a soulmate. See what I'm saying? So you could have a whole bunch of brothers and sisters that can all work together. You can get a whole group of people that all are working the same way, they have the same physical appearance, they have the same emotional energy, so on and so forth, right up. See? And those are called cosmic families. And your cosmic family, sometimes you meet them over and over and over again. See? So there are cosmic families as well. Then there are higher vibrational essences like the Brotherhood, like the White Brotherhood. And they're like this. They're pulling into humanity from the higher states of cosmic being, with all the other great monadic lights and beingnesses that are experiencing on other planets. Now, not only do the humans use this planet for experience, but there are other beings from other planets that are using this planet for experience too. They walk around in the same kind of bodies you do. The only difference is their origin was different in their essence within. I've come here to work in humanity, though I didn't start in the structure of humanity. When that broke from the great center sun, I was not in that structure. I came here thousands of years ago in a different way. I came through other systems of consciousness. And some of the beings in this room has done the same thing. They've come to work with humanity. And that's why they feel foreign to all humanity in a way, but they feel drawn to humanity in another way because they have similar vibrations. The structure of light that I came from first is a very, very old structure of light that went through the Carinian system, which is a star system on the outer edges of our universe. And I also worked in the Masurian system before I came here to planet Earth and worked with Earthlings. And so this is my mission upon this planet just this time. I projected back from a time span which was at 999. This is at 3. This is the number of this time span, 3. And I was projected from 999 back into this time to change the vibrations here so that 999 would be more pure. Because the only way you can change the future is change the here and now, and your here and now is my past. So many beings have been projected back along this stream of light. Don't let that confuse you. Don't try to understand it at this point. You will realize it in about 10 years. Those who are soulmates were once one life form. that's separated into two or more polarities. So he realizes his whole stream of light, and he was able to realize it in that light, that his majority of essence at that particular time was only a seventh-dimensional beings. And there are a lot other beings that have come from further in the future back. See, what we call the future means a more correlation of consciousness, a higher state of correlation of consciousness. And so when you reach these other bodies, now you not only have this body right here, you have a future body already projected. And everything is going on right now. Your future, your past, your here and now is all going on right now. So when I say that, that doesn't make me unique from you because you have the similar vibration. It's only the expansion of that vibration. And so what you're doing is you're expanding out. And as you create here, you're creating your more abstract forms in the future. What this body is going to become. So what your awareness does, it just moves out of this stream, just laces in and out, in and out, in and out of these bodies. But when you become a free spirit, you go in and out of the bodies. Just like when I leave at night, sometimes I go in different time dimensions. And that's why I work with Sarastra, which is one of my future incarnations. And that's why I get the messages from an interdimensional time-space unit. That I have to attune to this dimension, just like you have to attune to this dimension. So there's a lot of things to keep you here. And a lot of things that keep you here are all your attachments. And as soon as you become detached and renounce this dimension, then you're free to flow in many, many other dimensions. And that's what the Buddhists, that's what the Christians, that's what all of the teachers of the world have been telling you for thousands and thousands of years. That so many are trapped in individual ego that they don't realize they're spiritual beingness that can step into the soul of humanity and know all past lives. That's your universal being. See, like Paramahansa Yogananda says, my life is in all lives. You have all past lives are my life. All future lives are my life. See, he has realized his universal beingness from a point of individuality. So I realize the same thing. So when you get to that point, then you can pull off the energies of the experience of all those life streams. But you still have your own individual life stream. It's like a golden thread that's flowing through an eternity of experience, a duration of consciousness and correlation of consciousness. Those who are soulmates were once one life form that separated into 2, 3, 4, 5 polarities. If one is able to tune to that polarity, if it was at all possible, if there is any hope, incidentally, this is a channeling from Saint Germain. Any thread one can hold onto to tune in there, one can have a beautiful, enduring, eternal happiness. If one, however, seeks a twin ray, one is seeking someone not only that they can be in tune and can be in tune with you, but someone who has perhaps a very different karmic pattern and background than you have. Twin rays are defined as two persons who have at least 5 or more bodies, or the majority of their bodies, in tune with one another. Meaning the different bodies of awareness, just as we got there, the physical, astral, so on and so forth. Soulmates are defined as separating into two beings. These two persons of opposite polarity who were once one, and we're going to take it just at the one. But remember, there are the other factions where there can be more than one. But the majority, the most, only have one soulmate. The majority of life sparks have one soulmate. So we'll talk from the majority. To see, you're not really the majority. That's why I give you the metaphysical side too. Those two persons of opposite polarity who were at one and then separated into two beings. If soulmates have 5 bodies or more in attunement, then of course this would be great and beautiful for both to experience. If one knows who one's soulmate is, and one knows that soulmate, and one self only have to, let's say, 2 of their bodies attuned. Say you meet your soulmate, you only have 2 of your bodies attuned. That means that you must adapt the other bodies to bring yourself in tune with your soulmate. Say you may meet your soulmate, and you know that they're your soulmate. But my goodness, they don't think like you, and they don't feel like you, but you know, you're both drawn together, and you both know your soulmates. Then you must attune. You must work on attunement, meaning attuning all of your bodies, your physical, emotional, vibrational, so on and so forth. You must attune all those bodies together. And you may be only awake to a couple of them. It depends on what state of evolution you're at. If one knows who, Saint Germain talks different than I do, so I have a hard time sometimes just reading. It's easy to channel. If one knows who one's soulmate is, and if one knows that soulmate and oneself only have, let's just say, two bodies in attunement with each other, and then one meets someone that one is very attracted to biologically, and one immediately thinks that they have one of these or more of these bodies in attunement with one another, then what is one to do? It means if you've met your soulmate, you know that's your soulmate, but you meet another one that seems to be more in tune with you. See? What are you supposed to do then? Interesting how they pose the question and then they give you an answer. Because they're posing the question that usually individual poses. If you have a way of finding out who your soulmate is, and that can only be done through tested mediumship outside your own consciousness, then you know who would be the one mate out of all possible mates that you could be happiest with if you were to start tuning your bodies to him or her. But if your descendants, as descendants of many are, do not have a way to have a relationship of who's his or her soulmate is, then you have to go upon your own instinct and awareness in choice of desire. If you don't have any other way, if you don't have a medium to tell you, if you don't have a matchmaker, some societies have matchmakers, some have mediums, some will say, how would I go with this person? A lot of people come to me and ask who they're compatible with in this, and I can look into their life streams and see if they're soulmates or if they're twin rays or whatever, and I give readings at that point too. Then you'll know. But if you can't get that type of knowledge, and you can only get it outside of yourself because you get too subjected to what's going on to see clearly. Understand what I'm saying? And that's why you go to somebody outside of yourself to see, because you got too involved to see. Meaning you got too many energies tied up in too many areas to be objective enough to look and say, oh, that's my soulmate. Unless you're a seer or a master and adapt, then you know who your soulmate is, and you get attuned to it. That is the traditional way in the West, meaning using instinctive mind or awareness or just choice or desire. That's just the way of the West. In the East, it's different. If you find who you are most attracted to, most available out of all the series of possible choices, and you marry and often find the marriage is not satisfactory, what kind of theology or religion would you, if you were an ascended master, promote in the world concerning this vast subject of marriage, love, and personal, intimate relationships? There must be some standard and thought by which all the different lifestyles can be happy as possible in a world of such mixed lifestyles. Once again, after observing many planets and people, the ascended masters come back to one initial premise. And you might write this down. There's only 3 sentences. It is better to love than not to love. It is better to love than not to love. It is better to love in a personal way some specific person than not to love. It is better to love in a personal way some specific person than not to love. specific person than not to love. And it is better to be loved in the same way. It is better to be loved in the same way. So that's their initial premise. This is what the Ascended Masters say in that. We have known several persons that were pained and aggravated totally by any kind of intimate relationship with anyone. And there are large numbers of people, especially female organisms, such as exist on the planet Earth, who are constructed physiologically that sexual intercourse is painful. There are some women that can't have sexual intercourse because they are not built right. I mean, they're physiologically not built to have that type of relationship. To such persons, there is an entire world of problems opened by the teachings that one should mate or find attunement with a mate. See, society, you say everybody should have a mate, right? Well, this opens up a whole world of problems for someone that isn't constructed to have that kind of a relationship. But our society, see, we're going from by man-made laws, and we have to say, well, this is the way it's got to be, you know, monolistic. See, it didn't used to be that way. It used to be, when they had more than one wife or husband. Yeah, polygamy. See, there's not too many polygamists left on the planet that have a lot of mates. There's not much of that. Not too many of those societies left on the planet because of our training to have just one. The reason it was boiled down to one because there was always fighting and things, and there was more than one. Or attention, because we got so egocentric, right? But just think of old King Farouk, what he had 400 wives, 1,500 children. He ate a pound of oysters every morning. Raw. You know, oysters contain very high charge of vitamin E. I don't know whether I could go through all the raw oysters for that many kids. I wonder how he ever controlled his country. Anyway. One should dedicate what one... Oh, wait. To such persons, there is an entire world of problems opened by the teachings that one should mate or find attunement with a mate. One should decide what one feels very deeply, what one wants and would like to experience within the framework of moral and divine principle. And then the effort of one's friends and teachers should be towards helping fulfill that experience. See, they say you should decide what experience you want in your life. And then your friends and your teachers should be behind you and back you up and help you fulfill that. See, that isn't the way it is, but that's the way the Ascended Masters teach and have always taught. I mean, this isn't a new teaching. It's just coming out for the Aquarian Age. This has been taught for hundreds of thousands of years. I mean, we haven't just got here. Man appeared on this planet over 4 million years ago. Over 4 million years ago. They found the skull in Africa, and they dated it 4 million years ago. So I'm not talking from some abstract spiritual awareness that I may have gotten. I'm talking from actual science, physical science. And that's all he says. And then he says, in closing, in this closing thought, in nearly every case of divorce or separation, the loss of personal human love in a sex-love marriage experience that we have ever observed that comes from one or both parties failing to pay attention to one another. See, they said the biggest cause of divorce or separation is when the individuals just stop paying attention to one another. See, they just don't pay any more attention. That's how. See, you have to pay attention to one another if you want to stick together. That's the way it is. Otherwise, there's separation. The love experience is quite often in human affairs a search for someone who will pay attention to oneself more than anyone else. See, that's mostly what people are looking for. Somebody pay attention to me, right? Very egocentric. This is neither good or bad. The masters are very beloved. It's neither good nor bad. It just merely is. See, it just is. So if one sees one's relationship faltering, one should begin to pay more attention, and in paying attention, practice the art of love, or what we call the art of giving. See, we're here for giving. For giving. For giving and forgiving. You see, forgiving one another and forgiving to one another. It is more joyous than anything that we know. It is happier than any happiness you can possibly imagine. It is greater and more noble and personally more exciting than any adventure that anyone can step into. They're talking about a relationship with another individual. It can be more adventure and more exciting, and it's more noble and greater and more personal than any other thing you do. I mean, compare having a relationship with another human being and going to Disneyland, right? Anyway, I just threw that in to be facetious. But like all adventures, it's fraught with many caves that you've never looked into before. It's fraught with many dangers one does not usually feel are attended upon on that experience. So you have to realize when you get into this relationship, there's a lot of dangers there. Yeah. Like Columbus coming to America, the wayfarer in the experience of personality, love, human love, finds many new scenes that those who have not wanted to experience do close themselves to. And this simply means here that many people, before they go into a relationship, close themselves off to a lot of things. Well, I'm not going to do this with this person, I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to let this happen, that. They close off a lot of the relationship before they ever get into it by making conditions. The power is this. You must be open to let the other individual be an individual. Because you're in two boxes here. You can't have the other individual have to play your game. It's that simple. You don't impose your style on the other individual. You have to be individuals. Because as soon as you do, that person loses their identity and becomes subservient to a dominating personality. And that loses the spiritual awareness of being one, but being one. You see? Being one, but being one. One individually or one in the whole. So if you find that, and you want a relationship, this is the suggested affirmation to make. So I will read this affirmation all the way through, and it'd be a good thing, whether you're seeking a relationship or not at this point, to use this affirmation so you'll be open to this type of relationship. I decree that my life shall make someone else happy. Marriage is a sacred, beautiful, and happy tradition. I affirm that I love my mate and want happiness there. I shall think of new ways of making my mate happy. I am grateful for my mate. I hold my mate in the perfect Christ life. Now, if you want a close relationship, this is the type of affirmation you must make. So if you want to write this down, I'll read it for line again. And this is suggested by Saint Germain, because he makes many decrees and affirmations. And this is a decree. I decree that my life shall make someone else happy. And they're not talking about just male and female. I mean, with other people, too. I mean, if you say you have a good friend, a buddy that's with you, or a couple of girls that are good friends, you want that same kind of relationship. You're talking about someone a mate. This doesn't necessarily mean sexual relationship, because that's only one part of 9 parts of this relationship. It's a very small part of the whole thing. And most people put all their attention there. You have to watch that. That's caught in the root chakra. root chakra mamas and root chakra daddies, I call them. I decree that my life shall make someone else happy. I feel a little mischievous. Marriage is a sacred, beautiful, and happy tradition. See? You're just agreeing with it. If you have something against it, guess what? You're going to have to go through it to settle it. So just accept it if you don't want to go through it. Or if you do want to go through it. Marriage is a sacred, beautiful, and happy tradition. It is. A sacred, beautiful, and happy tradition. I affirm. Oh, wait. Did everybody get that? Marriage is a sacred, beautiful, and happy tradition. I affirm that I love my mate and want happiness there. I affirm I love my mate and want happiness there. I shall think of new ways to make my mate happy. I shall think of new ways to make my mate happy. Your whole power is openness, and how open you can be, and how you can correlate that unconditioned energy that's coming to you. I shall think of new ways to make my mate happy. I am grateful for my mate. I am grateful for my mate. I hold my mate in the perfect Christ life. I hold my mate in the perfect Christ life. Christ, the direct interpretation of Christ means the ideal creation. You want to realize what Christ is. It's the ideal creation of God. The ideal being. Creation in God. And that was taught upon the planet for thousands of years. Now here's from Master Odasa. Master Odasa is a being that never incarnated upon the physical dimension, but on this energy that come down from the Godhead, down through the various dimensions and spheres. This particular master, I believe, is a six-dimensional being that has never incarnated in physical body. But a lady master has merged with him, and they have become one in a spiritual mystical union. So there are beings that have not manifested in this dimension and won't manifest in this dimension. They don't have to come to this dimension. They are supporting beings of this dimension and of the lower dimensions. See, there's no voids in the universe. We just see this coming down our track, but realize that's still happening. There are still beings waiting to come and use this planet. There are fourth dimensional beings just waiting to come onto the planet to have the next experience. But they can't come as long as the third dimensional beings are still occupying, right? And some of you are fourth dimensional beings wakening up. And soon you will all be fourth dimensional beings. It's a natural state of evolution. You're three-dimensional, then you'll be fourth dimensional, then fifth dimensional, sixth dimensional. And at this time, every time there's a great shift, you don't just have to go to the next dimension. You can go over an arc of light and go into the higher dimensions. You can ascend and become one with masters that's beyond the 15th realm. You see what I'm saying? So you don't necessarily have to stay here. Or you can go right back to God, straight up the middle on the first outpouring. Go straight right back to God. See? You don't have to take the evolutionary part. Just go right back. Become one with God again. But it's up to you. And most beings are just going along on the evolutionary part. But the magician and the alchemist and the masters always knew of the involuntary art, and they came from future experience to teach you to go to that future experience. Right here, right now. There are actually whether you realize it or not, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 100th dimensional beings right on this planet right now. There are beings in, because everything is right here, right now. We just happen to have a monopoly. Third dimensional beings just happen to have a monopoly in this phase. So Master Odasa is a very beautiful six-dimensional being. I have been asked to say a few words about soulmates and twin ray concept. God is infinite love. God is, in a sense, a part of everyone. God brings the love experience into our lives as we reach out to make someone very happy. Notice that? What it says there? When we reach out to make someone happy. That's how you get happiness. You give it. See? If you want any quality to come to you, give it. Give it away. The more you give away, the more you get. Because see, you're only like a floodgate. And here's this river flowing. And the more you open the floodgate, the more it'll go through you. Right? Well, that's the same way. The more love you get, the more this river of love will flow through you. And so the more you'll become that. See? By identification. It fits it all. So that's a very important clue right here and the Master's gift. God brings the love experience into our lives as we reach out to make someone very happy. See? So if you're sitting back waiting, oh, somebody's going to make me happy, I'm just waiting around. I mean, they're going to come and they're going to do this for me. I'm just waiting here. Guess what happened?
I've been waiting for this year. But, I'll get it.
Right? You're sitting there, an old man or old lady, waiting. That's what happens for the waiters. One should always look forward to finding someone with whom several vehicles of consciousness are in tune. It is important, of course, that out of the 5 bodies in attunement necessary out of the 9 to create the twin ray vibration, that one of those bodies in a male and female relationship is physical. It's the physical. We have known many persons who had a marriage that did not involve physical relationships. Some of these were happy, but most of them were not. So this is the advice given back from a 6-dimensional being to us here upon this plane that can see all the other planes below it. Understand? He's a 6-dimensional being. He's coming from the heart, from knowledge. He's a being of the realm of knowledge. He's a golden being of light, emanating that dimension. So they see that if a male and female gets married and they don't have physical relationship, then they find that sometimes they are, but most of the time they're not happy. They don't find happiness. And realize when we're saying happy, we're just talking about a personal vibration. Happiness is just personal. Now when you get to a higher vibration, like the soul vibration, then there's no more happiness. It becomes joy. And then when you get to the spiritual vibration, it becomes bliss. And when you get to the ultra-spiritual oneness with all things, it becomes ecstasy. Let's all get there. I am not one of the physical ascended masters. I live in the realm called the 7th realm. Always the 7th realm being Nirvana of consciousness with my mate, the ascended Lady Master Rasha. We have all of our bodies in tune with one another. The spiritual union that takes place in this type of intercourse in the highest level of life is a joy eternal, filled with God and love for humanity. I see Lady Rasha as the perfection of beauty, goodness, love, kindness, and the perfect vehicle and consciousness that has made me and continues to make me very happy. I would that everyone could say this about their mate. I would that everyone